Okay. Okay, mbula binaka. Mbula binaka bikim nina warong tikumay na mbungi binaka ni kwa. Sa uchungona walu and tinikando na minute. Yeah? So it's 11 minutes past 8. And I'm greeting you all. Thank you so much for joining in this evening, where we have another wonderful panel that are here to kickstart our Talanoa on this beautiful Wednesday evening. This is part of the International Women's Day celebration. So the actual day is coming up on Saturday, which is the 8th of March. But I decided to have some amazing women who have inspired me to be here on my platform from Monday, Tuesday, and then now it's Wednesday, and then we have a couple more on Thursday, Friday, until Saturday. So it's a wonderful opportunity that these women can be here to share their story, their journey, and I hope that their stories can also, inspire you, on different levels of life. Particularly for the ladies who are here today on the topic of the founding members of BAKA Books who are here. For me, it's looking at, the inspiration behind the brand. But also, I've had the opportunity to visit their bookstore. It's such a beautiful space that can, encourage, reading, adding into, literacy and numeracy and, a lot of things that families, can benefit from. So in order to give time for those who will be joining us as well, to give them the opportunity to join us, I will play a song. So those of you who have been following my page, I always play a song to give time for those who will be joining in. Eh? So I've decided to choose this beautiful song, which is one of my favorites, especially those of us who live overseas. Most of the time we are always homesick. And this song is a song that reminds us of home. Yeah? So, Nakavakalim for joining in. And please share this video and live for other friends of yours to also join in. And also, I mentioned to the ladies that I welcome questions and comments from the audience. So if there are any particular questions you would like to ask any of them, you're welcome to type it on the chat, and I'll be happy to ask them on your behalf. Okay, so this is the song of Nondomoni, and I hope you will enjoy it. Nimbula Nimbula.
Sai viti lomani na lobu
hope you enjoyed that song. Very famous song. The song is called Vanua Ndomonye. What a beautiful song to welcome us all to this Talanoa session. And we have our guests who are connecting in from the beautiful city of Suva and also the jet set town of Nandi. Those of you who've been looking at our poster, you'll notice that I had the poster that had Samantha Magic, ADARSHANI VIKASH, and AKANISI NABALARUA VAKAWALETABUA. So I'd like to take this time to greet them. And I will start off with the ladies in Suba. I'll share the screen now, and then we'll go to Samantha in Nandi. Rombolo Vinaka Darshini and Akanisi.
Bola Dr. T. Bola Vinaka Dr. T.
Bula Vinaka. And Bula Samantha.
Yung Bola Vinaka.
What's the weather like in Nandi at the moment, Samantha?
Oh, it's beautiful actually. Yeah, a bit of a breeze, gorgeous.
Oh, Vinaka. And in Suba?
Hot. Hot and muggy. It rained a little bit, but I don't think you can tell.
Is and those of us who've been watching from a distance, we know that we just had is it Cyclone Ray? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
And then I was waiting for Cyclone Seru. For some reason, it didn't appear.
Didn't visit.
Maybe it's a blessing, eh? That Seru is on his way, and I hope that we won't see Seru. But we're not well, we know that we are. I think we are in the cyclone season. I think it's a big a reminder for us where we live that during I think October to April, if I remember. During school, we always learn about the cyclone season. So it's a good reminder for us that, yeah, it still, happen for all of us to know and prepare ahead of time. Eh? Yes, so for our visitors who are listening in, Nimbula, thank you for taking the time away from your busy schedule to listen to our amazing ladies who are here. So maybe we'll start with Samantha in Nandi, and then we'll come to Darshani and then to Akanisi, just to tell us a little bit about yourself. Maybe we'll start with your own personal upbringing, where you're from in Fiji, and where you were raised. Like Samantha.
Naka Dr. T. So I'm Hasik, sort of mixed Fijian. I have my father is Australian. So he's from a very tiny town in Australia called Binaway, very tiny place. And my mother she's a slatter. So I got it from a very big family. Her grandmother was born in Nakasalek, actually, so Kandavu. But her mother's ancestry is very mixed as well. So we have a strong sort of Chinese ancestral line, Itauke, American. It's very mixed. As I said, a sort of classic Fijian sort of Kailoma story. And my mom was born and raised in Suva. She's one of 13. So I have come from a big family of really strong women. 11 of them were sisters. And I was also born in Suva, but when I was very young, we moved to Australia. So when I think about how brave my mum was to leave everything that she knew and go with dad to Australia, I think that's real courage, actually. But then I was really keen to come back to Fiji. We used to come back a lot, and I really felt the pull. So as soon as I graduated from university, I was on that first plane back. And of course, it was a very different experience living in Fiji as distinct from visiting and being there over Christmas and, a different sort of atmosphere. But I came back to a job at CFL at FM 96, and that was a really great way to sort of land back in Fiji, because I was immediately surrounded by people who really embraced me and around the same age, and we had a lot of fun, of course, at that age.
So Vinaka for sharing that, Samantha. And now we'll go to Adarshani and then to Akanisi.
Thank you, Dr. T. So I'm originally from Nandi, the jet set town, which is why I'm a little envious that Samantha gets to spend some time there. And I was actually born in Lotoka, and with my at my grandmother's place, and I have maternal links to Singatoka. We call my grandmother Lily of the Valley because she was born in Kamlangasao. Sorry about that, but but yeah. So I grew up in Nandi for most of my life. I came to Suva to study, and I've been here since then, and that's been 18 years now. Um, and it's been a real challenge, kind of leaving home to come to live on my own. But it's also been very interesting because one of my greatest champions in everything I've done so far has been my mom. So uh, it's been really interesting to kind of grow a little older and understand how she was and what her challenges were too. She managed to be sort of like you would call them stay-at-home moms, but she looked after us. We had a little business and she would help out with the business too. So she really had a packed schedule. Some days I wonder how she did it, because I think in this day and age and the kind of personality that I have, I don't think I could do so much of what she did. But it was really interesting to have a grown-up perspective, to realize that I had very strong female um, relationships in my family, with my maternal grandmother, my aunts, my mom, and I'm the eldest of three girls. So I have two siblings, two younger sisters who are actually fantastic as well. So there's been a very strong network of very supportive women. We don't do anything without each other's advice or guidance. And obviously, it would be remiss of me to not mention both Samantha and AKANISI, who've just been wonderful friends and partners.
So Vinaka, Darshani, when you mentioned, your mom being a stay-home mom, I quickly wrote down she's a home executive. Uh,
She really was. It was like sometimes I think about her schedule and I think about everything she managed to achieve, and it's just I'm in constant awe, because I don't think when we're younger we appreciate what our mothers do and what they give up to make things easier for us. So it's been refreshing or eye-opening to have that kind of perspective
mm.
um, a little later in life.
Wow, Vinaka. And you have your two sisters there, and you have your other two sisters here at
Yes,
BAKA Books.
yes.
Yeah. And again, the point mentioned by Samantha, yeah, with your mom, you used the word brave, yeah. Just the bravery that she had with, where she was raised, and the opportunity for her to go to a new country. Yeah, and it's amazing that upbringing has impacted on you as well, Samantha. So, Vinaka, wow, it's nice to see the connection of our mom. So, from Samantha to Adarshali, and now to Akanisi.
Yeah, Bulvinaka, Dr. T. So my name is Akanisi NABALARUA. I am from the village of Natumua, the king of Tabuki, the island of Kandavu, also known as Big New Zealand. I have maternal links to the island of Mbao. I think in terms of my upbringing, so we had the opportunity to grow up in different places because my mom took up study and work in Australia and New Zealand. So I grew up in Suva, went to the primary, then moved to Australia and came back to Suva Grammar, and then moved to New Zealand, where I finished tertiary education because my mom was a lecturer at the University of Waikato, who has been on your show quite a bit. And also, yeah, I'm the middle child. I have an older brother and a younger sister. And I think like Samantha and Adashni have alluded to, just having moms and matriarchs who did things in their own way and ventured out, but in doing so, gave us permission to also undertake different adventures as well. So yeah, so International Women's Day is pretty special because it's not just it's often seen as a cake and salo day, but it's a bit more meaningful to us as women because it's really about words and actions. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I think I like the word that you mentioned, the word permission, giving you that permission to be able to experience life, as you have experienced already, and which have added to what we are going to hear from this Talanoa session. Vinak Vakalevu for that, Akanisi, and you've mentioned the school, so maybe we'll go back to Samantha. You mentioned because you grew up in Australia. Did you do most of your studies there?
I did a journalism degree there, where I met the amazing Frances Herman, who was studying there from Fiji as well. So yeah, there was sort of a Fiji connection. Even I went to a university called Charles Sturt University, which is like in the middle, in the bush. So yeah, it was interesting that Fiji and my connection to Fiji and those ties followed me wherever I went. I felt like that, even in the most remote places. So yes, I studied journalism there, and that's as soon as I finished that, that's when I came back to Fiji.
Nakawalev Samantha. And Darshani, did you study in Nandi? And what
Yes,
school
I
did you
did.
go to?
I did. I went to a school called Nandi Sangam Primary School, which some of my best years. I love talking about my time at that school. And then I went to Natambua High School. And then I came to Suva to do my law degree at the University of Fiji because I was in a bit of I really wanted to do medicine and it wasn't the right time or space for it. And then so I just decided to I decided to do law and figure myself out. It was a life-changing experience because not only did I managed to figure myself out. It just gave me a sense of accomplishment. It was a lot of, trying to be independent and all of that. But also, like Samantha said, your connections follow you through. So I just, you rely on those connections to keep you afloat. For me, it was a high school friend that, happened to be in my class. I was alone in Suva. For about a few years at least. And it was really important to have those connections to keep you grounded. Yeah.
Sevenaka. And saying bullet to the ex-scholars of Latambua. Uh,
Yes, hello.
and Suva Grammar for AKANISI. And Samantha, did you attend any schools in Fiji for secondary
No, I
school or
didn't.
all in
Yeah,
Australia?
only in Australia.
Okay. But never mind, you back.
I know I can never have like the sporting sort of connection or the many reunions vicariously through my family.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. And I know many of us always hear your voice, in the radio. And so I think many of our listeners will remember, hearing the name Samantha Magic. So for those of us who remembered her back in the day, it's nice to see you in person. So Vinakavakalevu, Samantha, for, being part of this amazing project, which we're all excited to hear about. Vinak Vakalevu ladies and Bula to our listeners, Vinak, for those of you who've just joined in, I've also mentioned that you're welcome to ask any questions that you'd like to ask the ladies. If you want to type it in here, that'll be great because I would like to include you all as well. So now in terms of the International Women's Day, because I know the day is celebrated on the 8th of March every year, when was the first time you heard about this particular day? We'll start back with you, Samantha.
It might have been when I came back actually, and it's definitely, I feel like something that's more celebrated and commemorated here. So yeah, I think it was just, and also maybe because of the circles and friends and people that so when I first came back to Fiji, I lived with my aunt, Aunt Claire, and she is a very, I mean, I think she's an inspiration to me, but also she's been really active in the sort of feminist and many sort of activist movements here. And so I think, yeah, she really, in many ways, sort of sensitized and taught me about a lot of the sort of issues that we discuss around International Women's Day, particularly in the local context. So yeah, I think it was mainly when I came back and, really, I feel like it's something that's gained momentum a lot in recent years as well. So I don't think I could put a date on it, but, it's definitely.
Right. You remember there maybe the
Yeah.
events and activities that happen around and particularly too with the line of work, yeah, that you're part of,
Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
with the media and communications.
Yeah.
Oh, Vinak, and I think your Aunt Claire, I think, was my teacher at USP.
Maybe.
Uh, it's
Yeah.
nice to see the connection and the amazing work that she has done over the years. So Vinak for including her as part of your inspiration. Vinak, Samantha and to Adashni?
I think I think the first time would have been in primary school because you know how every year there's something and when we celebrate a special designated day, there's always like a poster competition. And I must have been a little older in primary school. And then you hear about it, it's in the papers, it's in the news. And I think that my first full-on involvement in any kind of like Women's Day came in when I started working as a lecturer at FNU, and so I was asked to join the organizing committee for the International Women's Day in 2018, and save the years we couldn't have any gatherings for COVID, we've had consistently, panel discussions and so on and so forth for International Women's Day. So yeah, I did first hear about it because I'm pretty sure we had to draw a poster for it, but then I kind of had the privilege of being involved in organizing something like that, and it's always really interesting and such a great day to commemorate achievements because you actually have a designated day and then you ask the women what their achievements are and they talk about it. So it's been that kind of journey for me.
Level, Darshini. And it's interesting with Kanisi mentioning in her previous comment that it's the action, yeah, it's what what we do, or what your mom did back then, and I think we all remembered everything that you've done, yeah, that makes this particular day quite special. Kanisi, what about you?
Yeah, I think I really got became aware of International Women's Day as a working person returning to Fiji. I was gonna say like a decade ago, just a little bit more than a decade ago. But Adashni, and interestingly, Adashni and I used to work together at FNU. And that was just being in the space and being part of the organizing committee for International Women's Day and trying to ensure that it's not just like a performative thing, but that you ensure that you can actually lobby to have certain policies put in place um, for the women at the university, or even just in your department if it's small, in just a meaningful and impactful way. So it's not just like a day off and kalavata, which are all really cool things that we like to do as professionals, but also like really putting in a concerted effort to make sure that there's that this International Women's Day is going to be a bit different from the previous one, because we managed to raise awareness, or whatever the theme is, to raise awareness and really make a positive contribution.
Wow, that's wonderful, Vinaka for sharing that AKANISI, yeah, the opportunity, yeah, for that particular day to spotlight women, and I think most of the time we as women we just work and do what you're supposed to do. But I think having this week or this particular day and even the whole month, apparently it's
The
called the
whole
Women's
month,
History
yeah.
Month, yeah.
Every
Uh,
day of the year.
Absolutely. It just makes it, yeah, for us to recognize, yeah, the work that we all do, or maybe someone in your department or someone in your university, and just featuring them. And then also at the same time, for me, one of the key things that I always enjoy is, hearing their stories. Yeah,
Mm.
and getting, inspired by what each of these women have done. And, I feel so empowered after that particular week to say, man, if she can do it, I can do it too. So, that's kind of like why I just love to, feature this even now on my program, that every year, I try and feature the International Women's Day. Vinak, and so glad that you can all be able to be here to be featured too. So, Vinaka Vakaleo for that. So I think all of you, kind of highlighted your mom and your aunt, and the women, that kind of, surrounded you while you were growing up. So maybe we'll go back to, Samantha, just to, maybe remembering your mom. So we'll just identify our moms and how they impacted your life while growing up.
Well, so my mum worked the whole time. For as long as I can remember, she was working as well as raising us. And I think, what you were saying, Adashni, about the number of things that they juggled. Now I'm like, gosh, how did you? And because I was quite, like, I wanted to do everything, sport and all the extracurricular things. And I don't remember ever being told no, that I couldn't do those things.
Yes.
And my mother and father, because my dad was, also running around everywhere. I just feel like I was always given the opportunity to try and to do whatever I wanted and to fail sometimes, but just to be given the space. I think Aggie, you talked about that as well. So I think that's my main sort of the thing that my mother taught me, which I hope I'm also giving my children, my girls, the confidence and the space to just try and be and experiment. And I really do feel that. She never told me no. She obviously like gave me like a bit of guidance about, maybe you might better think about this, but she never sort of outright said that's a bad idea, or don't try that, or you can't do that. So I think that's one thing, particularly as I get older, I really reflect on and appreciate more and more.
Samantha. Darshini?
Yeah, I mean, just like I said, so many things. Because my mom, so there was three of us, three girls, and we sort of lived in a semi-extended family kind of situation, with my grandfather, and he was a very exacting man. But my mom she ran the house like a military operation. This was, wake up in the morning and do certain things and make sure we got ready for school. But one thing I did grow up around was to see her do things that I didn't really appreciate until much later, that a lot of women couldn't do. And the things that she would tell me that a lot of my friends didn't hear from their mothers. And I want to go back to what Sam said as well, because I never really heard the no from my mom as well. If I wanted to do something, she let me do it. Um, there were obviously expectations to perform to a certain extent, but it was just every idea of independence, individual independence and financial independence that I have has come from my mom, because she was adamant that we finish school, we get good grades, we go to university. And she was absolutely, the one thing I remember is that you have to get a job and you have to earn your own money. And you have to make sure that regardless of however many loving people you have around you, you need to be able to rely on yourself to do certain things, So it's that kind of self-reliance And again, as a child, you don't appreciate these things. You appreciate them when you're a little older. And I did those things when I was a little older because I had my son, and she was adamant that I, get back to working as soon as possible. She's like, no, you can do this. You can be a mom and you can go to work because your son needs to see this. And it kind of reminded me of how I saw my mom in the shop doing, what she could do to help my dad, and also in the house to look after us. The same with my dad too. I think it was unusual for me at that time to grow up in a family unit where I saw everyone do everything. There weren't really defined roles for people. It was very much, if there is a job that needs to be done, you do it. It doesn't matter if you were built for the job. If you could do the job, you had to learn how to do the job. So that's what, I was taught. So I think just that idea of individuality and self-reliance, the financial independence, all of that, those are some really important lessons. And I just carry them with me.
Level. Yeah, great to start off with Sam, yeah, with mom, not saying no, to the things that you wanted to do, and with you, Dashni, being taught to be independent, yeah, and that's really empowering. I think all of us today will take the time to reflect, yeah, on the amazing job that our mothers have done. So, what about you, Akanisi? I know your
I
mom
could
is
write a
your mom
book.
listening.
Yeah, so my mom is an academic, retired academic now. So she's a former student of Andy Vakambao. And I used to get, admirable remarks from people that former students of ACS who are my age or just a little bit older than me that used to say, man, it's so cool. It must be so cool to have a mom like yours. And I used to say, you know, the lecture that she does at work, she also does at home. So the same kind of standards that she expects from her students, she expects from her children. But in saying that, she gave us, I think, all us, my siblings and I, the freedom to choose what we wanted to be, or what we wanted to do with our lives, and then not only the freedom to choose, but this level of support that was almost um, not smothering, but like it's just unyielding support to what you wanted to do. So if you knew what you wanted to do, you work hard towards it, she's gonna be there right behind you. Her and my dad, always, asking you what you need, and having really honest conversations about performance in school. Um, it might be hard to believe, but I wasn't a sporty person. And so academic sort of like interest is where I gravitate towards, and from when I was like little. And so my parents always encouraged me and supported me that way, especially my mom, but also, like I said, they they ask you to perform at a certain level, but they also demonstrate that performance in their work. Yeah? So they are not just talkers, but doers as well of their own standards. And just like Adashi has said, we might not appreciate it when we're younger. I think when we're older and we have our own families, and you're like, okay, you didn't even have a mobile phone. How are you able to schedule these 500 things that you're able to do? Eh? And so what my parents also taught me was that there was the work that you did professionally, but then there's also work in the community that you have to get yourself involved in. So my dad used to say, once you've had enough of the work, you have to make sure that you teach others that are coming in behind you. And so they were both teachers. My grandparents were teachers as well. Both my grandmothers were teachers in their own time. So it's something that I've naturally gravitated towards. Yeah.
Vinaka, and it's amazing just to add on to what you're saying, and all of you highlighting the space, yeah, that you were raised in, how that impacted on each of you. But it's also interesting as I'm listening, I hear your acknowledgement of your dad, and thank you for that. And I think speaking to Dr. Francis yesterday and Fesaitu on Monday, knowing and acknowledging that our dads, have that contribution, yeah, and support, which is really, really great. But even though, our focus of these international rooms, they are only for, mostly for our moms and our aunties and our bumbu and all of that. But we all know, deep down, that our dad will always be there. I think all of us are so blessed for that. So for those of you who are watching, Vinaka Vakale for listening in, and this is an opportunity for all of you too watching to reflect on your own upbringing. And I think if those of you who still have your moms around, acknowledge them and spend as much quality time with them. And that's just so, so beautiful, yeah, that we are all celebrating them as well as we are looking forward to Saturday. So, Vinaka Vakalipsara ladies, and I think what I will do now, I will come back because you mentioned the word community, AKANISI. We still are going to talk about the contribution that we have done to community. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch now to BAKA Books, and then I'll come back to that because I can't wait to hear, about that, because to me that's community. Yeah, so we've talked about your upbringing and all those that influenced you and all the schooling and all the work that you have done. Let's go now to BAKA Books. And yeah, the first time I heard about it, and I heard it from AKANISI. So AKANISI, going back in time, our paths crossed when I was studying in Australia, and then interestingly enough, our paths crossed as well in New Zealand. So amazing, how that worked. And again, seeing your mom and dad, their support for you to AKANISI, that is just amazing. And I'm not surprised to see where you are now today. Let's go to BAKA Books. How did it start? And I remember Kanisa asked you, why did you call it BAKA? So who wants to start that? Kanisa, maybe we'll start with you and then we go to Samantha and Darshani.
I think I'll start, and then maybe if I miss something out, my partners will fill in. So this journey has been a collaborative one, not just between the three of us, but with other people and friends and family. We had a conversation with, I think very early on when it was still in its infant stages, we had a cup of coffee with Larry Thomas. And then we were, talking about the concept, and then we came to the name, and he said, you should name it after a tree. And then we stopped for a moment, and then we were thinking of different trees in Fiji, and we landed on the baka tree. And so we called it BAKA Books because it's a place of shelter. It has very deep roots, and that ties in with the fact that we acknowledge the shoulders on which we stand on, our past individually, together, right up to the second-hand books that have been pre-loved and brought into the shop to be sold. We were talking about having this tree that stays for a long time, that's resilient to changes. So all the symbolism around the baka tree, we were able to connect it to the kind of space we wanted to have and the culture around reading that we wanted to grow. Even right down to naming the different rooms in the shop about, different parts of the baka tree. And it's also like a place to have discussions, spirited discussions when you're sitting down, under the tree, it's not necessarily a quiet time. It's a one where we wanted to provide a space where people could come and talk and have discussions. So this place feels like a library, but it's not supposed to be quiet like a library. So the connecting different people, authors, publishers, graphic designers who just so happen to stop by and really talk about their next idea or the struggles they had, with publishing or with their next book that they wanted to do, really creating a community around it. And so that's why Baka seemed the most fitting for us at the time, and also just how the idea grew from those stages to now.
Savinak, wow. Even when you're talking about the word baka, I could visualize, so many baka trees, yeah, everywhere around
Yeah.
Fiji. And I could picture people sitting under the tree, with all the
Yeah.
Talanoa. And sometimes I'm always, kind of wondering if only this baka tree can talk. Yeah.
Yeah, the stories it could tell.
With all the generations,
Yeah,
I love looking at
absolutely.
historical photos and then
Yeah,
seeing, all the generations that use a particular tree, particularly the bucket tree.
yeah,
For highlighting the importance of trees and nature. And thank you for highlighting the roles that it plays, the shelter, the comfort, the Talanoa, the memories, all of that. Dashni, would you like to add to that? And then we go to Samantha on
Oh,
the
I think
concept of bucket tree or the
I
bucket.
think sorry. I think Akanisi has given the best description, better than anything I could have said. But I really wanted to just say that it's also about that like sense of community that you get from sitting around. And so, I mean, when you're under a tree and you're by yourself, you take a nap. But when you're with somebody else or with your friends, as it happens, you tend to talk about things. It's not like everyone just lies down quietly. And so I think that's why it's so important for us to have a space where people are comfortable, like Aggie said, sheltered, but also very comfortable to talk about what they think. Um, and yeah, we encourage the discussions and also the laughter that comes with discussing ideas, building community.
although
Wow.
I sorry, I just have to add that we have had children take a nap. Just like land on the beanbag in the aircon and just have a snooze, little babies and a few older kids.
Savita, thank you, Dashni, for reminding us about napping. Yeah, because it is very important, particularly for our mental health and our physical health.
Yes, rest is very important.
Like for that. Samantha?
Oh, I think these guys have explained beautifully around the concept of the name. But I guess it would be good to talk a little bit about the community that it's building, because I think that's been, certainly to me, it's been really inspiring and moving actually to see how quickly people have embraced it and the many different ways in which people have supported BAKA Books, including you, Dr. T.
Vitaka, yes. The last time I came over to meet with AKANISI, last year I keep coming back again, which is really, really awesome. And I could see, the potential of your bookstore to expand. I have other questions about that, but I got a comment here from our sister Safira in Dubai. She mentioned that great choice of the bookstore name. Yay. So, so yeah, that was my other question I was going to ask. What has been the response to, people just hearing the word Baka, named after your store?
We always get the question. I think I've memorized the explanation because that's often been a common question. Why is it called Baka Books? Which is fine. It's always lovely to to tell that story. For me, it's the name that captures people, but also you just need to take one step inside. So as much as we really grow this community both online and in person, and people ask about it and they're curious, and all I tell them is just come, just set one foot inside the shop, and it all makes sense to you.
Oh, and acknowledging you mentioned Larry Thomas.
Yeah,
It's just amazing, that even though there's just the three of you, there were others in your
yeah,
circle that helped you make your dream come to
yeah.
reality.
Yes, absolutely. Including the girls that work here, but also family, just within our very close family, having those conversations and putting us in touch with other people. So we very early on, there was an acknowledgement that we weren't experts. We were experts in different things. We bring our own thing to the table, but also that we needed to, get in touch with plumbers and electricians and tax people and and other lawyers and those that lived overseas, cousins of ours that could bring stuff over. It was, like I said, it was collaborative from the beginning.
That is wonderful. And I think my last visit was, I noticed there was a plate of cake and cookies, I think there, because, I love cakes and cookies. And when I saw it, I was like, that is very important. Yeah.
Yeah.
So who came up with the idea to have those yummy treats in that space?
I think the
We
person
all
that
like yummy
makes it
treats.
should ask the question.
Yeah.
So I have to admit that's a little bit inconsistent. It's when I have time to bake, but I think, like books, cake, it goes together so beautifully, right? So it was just another thing that we thought would be, it's part of the sort of welcoming and the experience of people being able to spend time. So that's sort of what we were thinking with that. Yes, but it's a little bit, because we all have other jobs as well, it's a little bit like, okay, when we have time to bake or when someone has time to do that, then we do it. But yeah,
Wow.
it's a lovely thing to be able to offer someone a cup of tea and a cake and let them just sort of exhale and spend time in the space. So that was the sort of thinking around that.
And what has been the response, Samantha, with those, coming in and seeing those treats in there, in addition to the books?
I think it's been good. Yeah, it's we have like a few regular customers, particularly on Saturdays, that it's part of their routine now to come and just spend an hour, have a chat to us, find some new books, sit down with a cup of tea and a cake. And maybe do it with another, their mom or another member of their family or a friend. So that's been really nice, sort of seeing people make it part of their routine and rituals of, how they relax.
And so, mentioning that, Samantha, where is the bookstore located?
So it's at 23 Magregor Road. So one really important thing to us, it was sort of non-negotiable, was that it was going to be accessible to people. And by accessible, I mean a bus stop close by, and we have one right outside the door, which is perfect. But also, that people could park and that they wouldn't feel like it was a difficult place to get to and to stop at. So we're really very, very blessed that we've got a location where that can happen. So yeah, it's in a little cottage. You can see it see the shelving behind ADARSHANI and AKANISI. And it's just a few rooms in a cottage where people can there's a bit of a sense of discovery, I hope, as well. I mean, that was sort of what we hoped, that people would be a little bit surprised when they first come in. And even when they come back, because we move things around a bit and try and make it always a bit stimulating and interesting.
Vinaka. And I think, now you've started bringing in the word community to come alive. now. So for those who are watching, it's 23 Magregor Road, in Suva. Check it out, and as Samantha just mentioned, it's close to a bus stop, and if you drive, also have car parks as well. And coming back, I know I love cakes, and those yummy treats. I just came back from Japan 2 weeks ago, and we had to go to a place for a meeting, and we happened to the meeting place was on the seventh floor, but the ground floor had a cafe and a bookstore. So when I saw it, my face just light up, because I saw all the books, and I just saw people sitting there, enjoying sipping their coffee, tea, and reading, at the same time. So that's really wonderful to see that combination and that feel of of a community or feel of family. So Akanisi, is that something that you'd like to see more of?
Sorry, is that
The community and the space with the cake and the books and the space being available for people to come in,
yeah.
and use it for their own, personal space of rest, and maybe
Yeah.
just to, pick up the book and read it
Yeah,
again.
it's definitely been a space for even, those that work around the corner to come and rest, like come during their lunch hour. We have events that we've been able to incorporate, like family, and we celebrated Diwali, Fiji Day, we did Halloween, Christmas, and it's been, an opportunity to bring people in for them to share food and look at the books, and see what's available, because I think that it's not just it's about growing the culture of reading,
Mhm.
which people talk about how our literacy levels may be suffering, or it's an issue for young people. I mean, we both teach at university,
Mhm.
and it's a task getting students to read, but also that we live in an age where things are so easily accessible on the phone in different formats, that or even on AI, you could just take a whole paragraph, put it in AI, and ask it to summarize it back to you without you actually having to engage and read with the material.
Mhm.
So with all those things, we're thinking, you know, just we also don't read for leisure as much as we used to.
Mhm.
And like, we don't read with children. We don't ask them to read back to us, or like we take turns reading books. It's not as common. And I think that part of the growing the culture of reading means getting everybody involved as much as we can. So, if you can bring your kid, I think Adashni's son has very specific book items that he wants. So every time she comes to the shop, she's just telling me tonight.
He will come and hunt for his books himself. And if he knows I'm coming, he will ask me to look for those books, which I really wanted. I really wanted children to have that, because one of the things that I had growing up was a safe space to read. And we were not interrupted in my house if we were reading. If I was reading a book, my mom didn't bother me. And I know sometimes it's hard because you do want children to, but I was never shamed for wanting to not interact with people that came to the house to visit. If I just wanted to stay in my room and read, I'd come out and say hello, you go back and read. And I realized that a lot of people don't have the same maybe views regarding reading. And I know personally some people think that it's okay to kind of, you're reading, so you're not really doing anything. That's your free time. And we just wanted for everyone to have a space where you could read, and that's a thing that you can do. That can be your reading time. And so one of the things that I really liked, especially during the school holidays, was we had quite a few high school students come in, just walk in and look through the comic book section. A couple of them would just sit on the floor and just like go through the books in the pre-love section, which I was so nice to see because I used to do that. And they would just sit down, and a couple of them were talking about books and this really interesting conversation about a few kids, few high schoolers. They started talking about paintings, proper art, like critiquing art. And then they were talking about books, and then they were talking about specific authors. And that kind of analysis at that age is so nice to see. So you really want kids to be able to pick up a book and say, this is what I like about it. And for them to be praised for that, to be appreciated for that, and not to be kind of said, oh, you're reading, you're not really doing anything.
Right.
Because so many children grow up here, oh, you're reading, you're not really doing anything. Can you come and, make your dad a cup of tea or something like that? Or do this for me. And so you grow that idea in your head over time that reading is not really doing anything. And it's so important because it gives you all these skills about comprehension, and also communication. Like you learn to talk to people. I think some of the times I really communicated well was I was talking about books with my friends. Yeah. I feel like I've gone on for too long.
Yeah, no, it's really nice to hear those personal stories, because it really makes the bookstore come alive. Even when you were speaking, talking about those young kids, I could visualize, how they were sitting on the floor going through the books. It's really lovely to see that. And I think coming back to what Akanisi was saying before, the literacy, and maybe I can add numeracy to it. I remember in New Zealand when my children were both under 5. I took them, they had library cards. I actually enrolled them, in the library, and they were so proud of having their own little cards. And so when it's library day, they're both so excited because they could take their card. I could tell them, you go in there, you choose whatever you want, and then they walk to the, kind of showing them how it's done. But then starting early, starting early. Samantha, what are your thoughts, coming back to the point of community and making the BAKA bookstore to make a difference within a community? What are your thoughts about starting early, and especially for reading, and make our children love books as how we remembered growing up?
Yeah, I think one thing that's been really important to all of us has been that children can come into the space and encouraged to come into the space and actually put their hands on the books.
Wow.
Because I think that the other part of that is that sometimes books are treated like these artifacts that are too precious to, and we hear often from teachers or from people in the community that that's what happens sometimes in schools, that, the good books are sort of untouchable. And so they're sort of put behind a desk or up on a high shelf, and so if you can't put your hands on books and read them or make up the stories from the pictures that you see, then you can't develop a love of books because they're not an everyday part of your life. So in that room where you can see ADARSHANI and AKANISI sitting, you can pick up any child can pick up any book in there. And we hope they'll treat it with respect, but really we want them to touch them. And so it's not a place where books are something so precious that they're not, they're not something that that the kids can engage with and really discover. So I think that's the main, I think for me, that's been really gratifying to see when people come in and they're so excited that that's actually encouraged. And I think that perhaps the three of us, we were lucky enough to grow up surrounded by books or taken to the library, or that the description that you had, Dr. T, of the sort of what you did with your children, that's really we all had that experience, I think, in different ways, but not every child in Fiji gets that experience. It's been really important part of it was one of the first things that we sort of talked about when we agreed on what we would do with the space, and it's been great to see that happen. And some Saturdays there are books, or you can't see the floor because there are books all over it because kids have picked up things and then put them down and then picked up another one. But that is beautiful to me. That's really a wonderful thing to see. And they might not leave with a book, they might just read them all and then leave. Often they'll leave with, one book. The other thing that's been really important there too has been to make sure that the books are accessibly priced. So we didn't want it to be a place where people felt like it wasn't for them. They couldn't afford it. So, we have books in there that are $1.50. And, in the secondhand section, certainly, there are we try and make the price accessible so that it's not something that you have to, wait for ages and ages to buy. Yeah, I'm sure the other guys will be able to weigh in on that, but
Yeah.
Oh,
we also devoted like one
making
whole
it
for
affordable.
children.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry, if I could just add to
Yes,
what
go for it.
Samantha has said, that just in terms of the books, the books themselves, the stories that have been chosen and curated, whilst you have like the really popular books. There's also books that deal with like children's books that deal with difficult subject matters, or that biographies that children can see themselves in the stories and identify with the stories, and that's all just to promote the fact that it's not this faraway concept, or the good book that's behind on the good shelf that's behind another adult. It's all very much close to you, and that you can read it. There's books that are bilingual as well, so that we were able to source from New Zealand, books that are by in our language here. There's other books that we've been able to get in touch with other NGOs to see how they deal with literacy, and being able to access some of their books, which are free, which are available for kids to come and have a look at. So in the Rutuman language, in Hindi, in Wasawagabiti, just for them to see like, it's it's a story that's not, the story about like climate change, or issues around climate change, but it's developed around this narrative that children can digest and process and see themselves in it. So that's been really interesting. One of the interesting sort of tangents that we've been able to go on, or one of the added benefits that we didn't anticipate, but we've been really fortunate and very appreciative of coming across these things.
And I think you highlighted the language part of it, having books in different languages. How has the response been with the Rutuman language and the Hindi and the Fijian language being available?
Yeah, I think it's been good in the sense that parents, teachers, some schools have been able to come and access it as a resource for home, or for their school, their private school, or even communities out of Suva. Just to be able to see it, for example, your posters, Dr. T, have been quite popular as well. Friends have come in to buy it for their kids, for their young children. So it's been good. Yeah, as long as they know it's quite popular. There's another Fijian author, Paulini. Her books, they fly off the shelves. Fijian books. Mr. Kaliopate Tawala had a children's book written in the dialect from Rabuni, illustrated by the children of Rabuni, and also translated into English. And it's a lovely book. It's quite popular as well. Yeah, just to see it in, and it's given the impetus to, or the courage to other people to maybe write books or stories in their dialect. So it's maintained. It's yeah, for
So
future generations.
they can see and children can
Yeah.
hold, yeah,
Yes.
because most of the time with the language, you often hear,
Yeah.
it spoken, but when it's written, it's kind of like another level of understanding
Yeah.
or just an excitement to actually see your
Yes.
dialect, being written.
Yeah. Hmm.
Sandin. And what about
Yeah. Sorry.
the comics and maybe books with illustrations? I think that's something, especially for young learners,
Yeah.
or young readers.
think I think certainly we have a lot of books that are beautifully illustrated. They are children's books that have bright, nice illustrations that are very, easy for them to kind of focus on. And then we also have comic books. We have a comic book section for some of the older kids, and there's been some growing interest in that area. It's always nice to see people come in, and the best part about it is that you kind of find a different thing. Like Aggie and Samantha said before, is that you will always find something a little different. And it's nice. Oh, another corner. Oh, another shelf, Oh, this wasn't here before. And it's nice to have that sense of wonderment when you walk into a space. So little rooms and you kind of go in and it feels like you're discovering. But yes, there's a lot of illustrated books, a lot of quite a few books that we have that are from local and regional authors and illustrators. And like AKANISI said, it's so important to be able to open a book and see yourself in it. And that's why illustrated books are so important, because every child deserves to open a book and feel like they're the main character.
Benak for that. And holding on to that thought, I've got some comments coming in. One is from Sapphire. Thank you for everybody who's been typing their comments. I'll just read them as we go, especially that we've been talking about our little readers. Sapphire had a question. Do you have reading sessions that allow children to create what they imagine the story is about artistically as they listen to the stories? Are there any plans for that, or is it already something you're thinking about, ladies?
It is something we're thinking about. So one thing we really want to do this year is improve or increase the events and the sort of activities in the store. But at the Fiji Fringe Festival, which is coming up at the end of this month and early next month, we actually have a children's story time as one of the sessions. So we're really looking forward to that. That's the first time we're doing it. And we're doing it with some local authors, children's authors, and then we're going to have some craft activities also by a sort of local, a woman who's very, Courtney, who's really skilled at that and joining sort of literacy and teaching. She's a teacher with sort of hands-on activities. So we hope that's the start of sort of regular activities. We've had a couple of like play groups come in and run their own sessions in the space. But yeah, we would love to open it up to more of that sort of thing. That's a really great question and suggestion.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Safaira. And there's another one from Krishnan Prasad, Vinaka Krishnan, for the comment, thanking BAKA Books for making reading fun. And I think what Krishnan said, that the selection of books is so good that kids keep wanting to come back for more. That is great.
And that's quite true. Sometimes moms will come in on a Saturday morning and their kids will be very resistant to come in until they sit down on the beanbag, and then it becomes a mission for their moms to get the children to leave. So, which is the effect we're going for anyway. So things are working.
That is so good. And I think another comment that was mentioned, Vinaka Krishnan, was the bookmarks and other fancy stationery items that you have. What would you like to say to that? Because I actually bought some AKANISI.
Yes.
When I came, I was like, I needed this, with all my books that I've been reading. What are your thoughts about those little beautiful stuff that you also have for sale?
Yeah, I think, well, I'll just say what I can say, and then maybe Samantha would like to add on. So we've had a really good opportunity. We were always told from other bookstore owners overseas that you have to have a gift section to go with your books. But what it has evolved into for us here is the ability to showcase the Fiji talent we have to create bookmarks, earrings, jewelry, candles, all these beautiful gifts that go with books. If you're, thinking of buying a gift for someone along with the book, even gift cards. We've been able to showcase, it's been a platform to showcase our local artists as well, and some from around the Pacific too. And it's been, yeah, it's been really great as well. Right down to sea salt.
I'm Daviuni.
Yeah, Taviuni.
I
Wow,
think,
that's
yes, I
awesome.
mean, I
Awesome.
might just add to that, because one thing that AKANISI mentioned there, which has been one of the beautiful things about this whole experience, is we did get lots of advice from local writers and readers, but also whenever we talk to a bookshop owner so we have a friend in Hawaii that runs a publishing house and a bookshop, and they're so generous with their knowledge and experience. And I think maybe booksellers are really nice people, because there's no competitiveness or anything. That was just like, oh, let me tell you what I've learned.
Yeah.
And so the gifting was not something we had really thought about, or really, put a lot of discussion into. But when they said that, we really then sort of focused on that as much. Well, not as much, but that was obviously an important thing that we needed to address. And so the bookmarks, we started off with, my daughter's a very good artist, so she made quite a few. My sister made loads. But then we were able to sort of, some local women who were doing weave woven bookmarks. We had some of those, some taba ones. So there's a lot of bookmarks in the store of very different kinds. And there's some of the artists and artisans that AKANISI's mentioned, making kind of quite sophisticated, beautiful ones out of lots of different materials. So that's been really fun, actually, seeing people come in with their ideas.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this is great that, this is the space for supporting our artists, our, local and regional artists, because they always try and identify like an outlet for, what they create. So, what's kind of like the future plan for that? Because I know there's so much creativity in Fiji.
We're always looking for fun things.
Well, after we solve the problem of literacy, no, I think, we've just been taking things as it comes and just learning our lessons. There's a lot of things where like it's a very steep learning curve for us. But what I appreciate about this partnership is that the ability to have difficult conversations, about decisions, and decisions are collaborative. But also we, like stand in the gap for each other if we, our schedules are quite busy. And that's, I think if we can get the little things right, which I heard a few days ago, the big things will follow, surely. And I think it's also very, just about being pragmatic as well. You can only control what you can control, and and whilst we are learning our lessons, we're able to kind of plan which way to go and which direction to take and what works and what doesn't. So yeah, it's very much watch this space.
Right. That's wonderful, because I know the space is there for people to read, but also it's a bookstore that they can buy.
Yeah.
It's really nice to see that that's that element that they can be able to purchase. Yeah, something.
Yeah. We also hire out the space for events if people wish to hold a small meeting or a gathering. We hire the spaces out. There's a hot desk if someone is from out of town or just, out of the office and they're looking for a place to do work. They can also come here and pay for a space to do work on our hot desk. So there's different services that we provide to cater for different needs, but essentially we wanted this bookshop to be a living space, as opposed to a quiet museum, a quiet space.
Right. The
Yeah.
living space, where the readers are there, activities are also in there. I
Yeah.
really love the fact that you're able to offer hot desk.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially for those who, as you said, AKANISI, who are maybe just visiting, so they needed a space for them to use for work. So
Yeah.
has there been any takers recently for hot desks?
Yeah, it's not I I think we have had, so we used to have a consistently last year, every week, once a tutor and a student they were tutoring would use the hot desk
No.
for their tutoring sessions. And their grandmother would wait on the seat with a cup of tea while the tutoring session is going on. So they've used it for different occasions, and then somebody stays back while they finish up. Yeah, and then they've had usually one of us is using the space on desk if we're running away from our office to do work. But yeah, we've had a local podcast filmed here. I think we had auditions here for a group, right, Samantha? Yeah.
Yes, a film that's being made. And book
Yeah.
clubs, of course.
Yes, and book clubs have used this, rented the space to hold their book club.
That is
Yeah.
wonderful. And I remember the Kanisi you mentioned, between the three of you and your other friends, you have relatives overseas that can bring books when they come over. And I know some of them are watching. So this is a kind of a plug for them. What would you like to tell them?
Don't bring clothes. Make space in your suitcase.
You don't need 5 t-shirts.
No, I think we're also just to say thank you very much for all the help coming through for us in the different ways. Yeah, even the girls that work here, we're always appreciative of them, and we're just like, this, to know that this is not like a three woman team. It's a whole army of the different people bringing different things and helping us in different ways. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. And I think for many of us, as Akanisi said, don't bring too many clothes. Make sure you pack more books, and go straight to 23 Magregor Road when you arrive. Yeah. So, so in terms of looking to the future, for the plans for BAKA Books, what are your sort of plans for 2025? Anything that you're planning for this year that you would like to plug for our listeners?
Yeah, I think
Maybe I'll
the
start
Fringe
with-
Festival. You go ahead, Samantha.
So we have the children's reading morning that I mentioned, but we also have a night of authors readings and talks, Talanoa. So that's with some local authors. It'll be a facilitated discussion, which Aggie's going to run. And yeah, we're just hoping that it's like, space for conversation, really. And we're really excited about the lineup for that. We're going to start promoting that this week. And then we're also going to have a writer's workshop as part of that festival. So we're partnering with Studio Kin, which is an Australian, New Zealand, Aotearoa based writers collective, and which has been great. One of their writers wrote a book of poetry, which we could not keep on the shelf. It went so quickly. Arieta Rica. So yeah, that's one sort of exciting thing that's happening very soon. But I think I'm hoping, and we've had a lot of discussions about sort of building more events in the space that really support our local writers and readers. So, lots of different book launches and discussions, and maybe like a public book club. So not the private ones that we've been hosting so far, but yeah. But we're also really open to ideas. So we have a suggestion sheet in the shop, and we encourage people to, if they are either looking for specific books or if they have suggestions about how we can use this space and build this community, we encourage them to feed those in.
Okay. And what are
Oh, and
your...
we're about to,
Yes, go for it,
I'm
Samantha.
excited. I'm also about to launch our website, which will be great because at the moment, like sending books to Lambasa, or it's a little bit of a clunky process, but hopefully that will make it a bit easier for people that are not in Suva.
Okay, because I was just going to ask about the website and social media platforms. What are the platforms that people can reach you on?
So we're on Facebook and
So you can
sorry, go Agnes.
and Instagram. Yeah, under BAKA Books, Fiji, on those platforms. We're also, yeah, just the website coming up, and TikTok as well.
Okay.
So we have our younger team member who looks after TikTok. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Those of you who are watching, those are some of the platforms you can find them on. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and they have a website there coming up. So you just go by Baka Books. Yeah, that's your brand.
Yeah, .com.fj.
Okay, wonderful. So, man, Vinaka, so there's some other comments, some Vakavin Vinaka, like gratitude comments coming in. So for those of you who haven't been to the bookstore, please write it down in your diary now. 23 Magregor Road. Yeah, you won't miss it. So those of you who are from Suva, yeah, can easily access it. As Samantha said, there's a bus stop right next door. And if you drive, there's also a car park, yeah, that is available as well. Wow. And I think, what was mentioned too, that there's possibility to encourage authors, for writers within a community. We have so many stories that are out there to be written. What do you think about that, Darshini? You agree?
I do. I think, once we start sort of discovering or cultivating the passion for reading, I think everyone has, everyone thinks they have a story, everyone has a story to tell. And we're so culturally rich in Fiji. There are so many experiences, there are so many perspectives, and such talent in terms of, I mean, you just have to come to the bookshop to see the amount of local talent that you have, because not just in the book section, but like Samantha and AKANISI said, in the gift section also, you can see how people are using their talents to make bookmarks, to make cards, and it's just an incredible thing to watch happen to watch it, develop over time. And so, yes, I think for us, the plans also include encouraging local authors and local artists to showcase their work. And this is the space for that. We encourage that so much. And part of building the community is to make that community inclusive for everyone. And that means listening and telling stories that we might not identify with, but that is so important to have all those, perspectives.
Benar,
You want to?
Darshini, AKANISI?
Yeah, no, I think I'm just really grateful for the opportunity to talk about the bookshop and the partnership that it has been. One of the girls that works here, Alena, is always like, it's just I just don't mind, putting in the extra hours or doing the extra bit, because it's so rare it's not rare. It's such a great thing that it's a women-led organization or company or business. And I think that, just being here tonight and telling our stories been, if anything, it's been a community of work to build a community of reading or encourage the culture of reading. And that, if you have an idea, you don't have to do it all by yourself. And that there are people that are willing to to give their time and energy to assist or to tell you about it. And I think, I agree with Adarshani. The stories here are rich in themselves. I mean, about the stories by local authors, the poetry, the books of poetry, if you didn't know that, 6 lines could move you. And it's written by, a young woman from Fiji or with links to Fiji, that tells a story about, her, it's a love letter to her eldest child. It's something that all mothers would, would have it would resonate with. There's a book that I just saw on the table. I think Samantha put it out on the table, called I think Praying Parents. And it's written by a Solomon Island author, if I'm correct. A book of poetry as well. This is conversations that we have, conversations that I hear mothers growing up and all the worries that they have, and to see it written in a physical sort of connection that you can have and identify with someone from the Solomon Islands, but through a piece of their work. We have had there's so many books here that have appealed to different groups of people. And so I think from the beginning we used to say, no, well, I used to say, it's not that you don't like reading, it's that you just haven't found the right book. And sometimes that book could be a graphic novel where it has no words and you're just creating the story from reading, from looking at the illustrations. And I think discovering the right book for you is the space that BAKA Books is for. The right book for you, the right book for your child, or a gift that you're looking, to pass on to somebody. Yeah.
Well, rong din. So beautiful. I have a feeling that this Talanoa we should have part 2, part 3, part 4. Because there's just so many gems and wisdom and some really amazing points coming through. So maybe to wrap up our Talanoa, as we celebrating the International Women's Day coming up on Saturday, and we also have amazing women and men also watching. To all our amazing men who are joining us tonight, Vinakavakalevu, for your support and for your words of encouragement. What would be your advice to young girls that are watching our Talanoa, especially relating to literacy and also entrepreneurship? That you have created this amazing bookstore that is called BAKA Books, and now it's impacting on the community, looking at potential writers, authors, artists, jewelry makers, and the list goes on. Even bakers, those are going to be making amazing cookies and cakes. I'm looking forward to that. We'll start with you, Adarshani, and then we go to AKANISI, and then Samantha will wrap up.
I think for young women, especially those who are thinking about telling stories. I know so many, people who have they have a wonderful way with words. They have a gift of telling stories. And I just really want to encourage young women to come out of their little spaces. We're traditionally always told to sort of, it's always been a be seen and not heard kind of thing. And I just want to say that your stories always will have a space, you know, and we want to provide that space for you. So to be able to build that kind of space for someone, for them to be able to tell their story either through writing, through poetry, through drawings. I think it's really important. And I just, one of the things that we sometimes deal with is doubt, and I think it's very common for young women to kind of, oh, I think I can draw, but maybe I'm not that good enough. And I just want to tell you that you are that good enough, and you should do something about it. It's not easy, but it's definitely worth the try. You only discover things about yourself if you try them. So yes, there are stories that deserve to be told. There are voices that deserve to be heard, and there are pictures that deserve to be seen. And if you have that, you know, if you have the gift, I think you should try to make something of it. And if you're looking for a supportive space, then BAKA Books is here for you.
VAKAWALETABUA. Woohoo! So 23 Magregor Road, here we come. VAKAWALETABUA for those beautiful words of encouragement. Darshani, Kanisi?
Naka, I think just, you know, in terms of International Women's Day, it's also an opportunity to remember the challenges that have been overcome and the challenges that still exist and the inequalities that still exist for women in our communities in different ways, sometimes seen, sometimes unseen. And what BAKA Books was aiming to provide, and it has always been at the core, was, you know, as ADARSHANI has spoken about, was having a safe and inclusive space. And sometimes that, or a shelter under that BAKA tree. But also just having this inclusive space means that, you know, you don't always have to agree on everything, but you are always welcome to come and explore possibilities. Whether it's a, you know, if you're, it's a book for everyone and all interests, but also just sometimes we need spaces to contemplate things or to process things. And we're often so quickly pushed out the door, you know, buy something and go. But, you know, what you need more is the conversation. And what I love about our the girls that work here is that they're always just willing to have a really good talanoa with anybody that comes in. And often our Google reviews is always talking about how friendly the girls are. As soon as they open the door, it's like, hi, we haven't seen you in so long. And so, you know, it's not just about saying it's this an inclusive space, but really just showing it in our work, in our efforts, and you know, how we run the space and welcome people in. So yeah, I like I say, you just need to set one foot inside. Yeah, Vinaka, just thank you again also for this opportunity to have, you know, to have shared our stories in the hope that people will come and share their stories.
Yeah. I think we need more of these kind of Talanoa sessions and to be be inspired. And I think I really like
Yeah.
the fact that you mentioned, Samantha, that there's a suggestion book somewhere in the bookstore. That is really amazing. And I know you have your website coming up. I'm sure you might have a section there for those people who've been there to leave the suggestions or the ideas after they visit. So, and now we can see that people are coming back and again and again and again. So that is wonderful. So Vinaka Bakalevo for that, Darshani and AKANISI, and now to Samantha.
Naka, I think maybe I'll just talk a little bit about the entrepreneurship question that you asked, because none of us are business. None of us came from running a business before this. And so we've been so reliant, but also blessed to have people that have been able to provide advice. And AKANISI spoke about this a bit earlier. But also, and that includes our families who've been incredibly supportive, our husbands, our children, our, our extended families, but I'm just also so grateful for this partnership. And I think, this is a good day to talk about that, because I think we all have we have very different personalities, we have different backgrounds, we have different opinions often, but but we have a shared vision and idea of what we're trying to achieve. And so for me, it's just been great to be challenged sometimes, but it's always felt like it's such a positive experience, and I learned from it, from being in this partnership, or this three-way partnership. So that's one thing I'm really grateful. And if young women are thinking about trying something new, if you can find the people that are going to support you, even when they disagree with you, and can support you in a way that sort of challenges and helps you grow, I think that's such a wonderful place to be in. And so that's one thing I'm really grateful with this, that it came from a book club and it's turned into this beautiful thing where we're learning every single day. We're not experts by any means. So we're learning from each other. We're learning from the women that work in the shop, and we're learning from the readers that come into the shop.
And that's something I really admired about, your team. You came up with, an idea and you went and did it, and I think that's a really awesome thing to do, because a lot of us, that's kind of my life's philosophy as well, is, don't have a life of regret, think, oh, I should have done that. Sometimes it's good, just do it. If it fails, that's okay. Yeah. Stand up and do it again, and you'll do it better. So, wow. Ladies, for spending your time with us tonight. I know it's late for you as well. It's very late for me to hear, but I was so excited. I had my alarm on, and I was like, I can't wait to hear about BAKA Books, because ever since I visited the first time, I got hooked. And my poor husband has to be dragged in with me. The other day he was cleaning up our house in Namosi, and he said, "Hey, Teresa, I think I saw more books. Shall I take it down to BAKA Books?" I was like, "Yes." So he's a big fan of BAKA Books. I told him today that I was interviewing you ladies, so he sends his warm regards to you all, and he'll be watching the repeat tonight. I'll send him the link. So everybody who's listening in, Patricia Lesara, Titi Tuinamuana, Chani Mbatiwale, and Master Le from Japan. Wow. Our Japan friends are logging into Vinakavan just the long list of people who are watching. And I'm sure, ladies, you can go on my page and maybe reply to them. And I think there's some more comments coming in. But I'd love to have you all back again at some point, maybe after the Fringe Festival. There'll be a really good way to come back again and tell us what happened after your event. That'll be really wonderful. So before we end, I'll open it up again to you three ladies. If anyone wants to say anything else that you may wanted to share, this is your time.
I think just thank you. I think we're just appreciative of the platform and the opportunity to talk about it. The three of us are hardly in the same space, under the same roof. Sometimes one is out of the country or the city. But we're just grateful to have this opportunity to have a chat, and you can see the faces behind the BAKA Books. And we look forward to welcoming you, whether you're here in Suva or you're overseas and you in Suva for a bit. Please do drop by, and we'd love to meet you all. Thank you.
Samantha, any other last comments from Nandi?
No, I mean, AKANISI just summed it up beautifully, but I think just thank you to you, of course, Dr. T, but also thank you to the so many generous people that have helped us in so many different ways from the start. So people that have donated books, people that have given us their advice, people that have, came in the first week and have kept coming back as readers and customers, our families, our children. I mean, it's just been a wonderful, positive experience for me and for all of us, I think. So a big manaka to everybody that's really been part of the BAKA Books family already.
Samantha and ADARSHANI.
Thank you so much, Dr. T. This was wonderful. And it was really nice to have a sit down and talk about what I just wanted to also thank you for giving us the space to talk about our goals and plans and the vision that we have. And just for being such a good interviewer and giving us the space and time to talk. So yes, thank you.
So you're most welcome, ladies. I wish you all the very best, and I look forward to visiting the bookshop again when I'm back again. I think I'll be back in May. So if you need anything from this side of the US, just let me know. I'll be happy to carry them in my suitcase with less clothes, as what AKANISI just reminded me. Less clothes, more books. Ladies, and I wish you all the very best, and I look forward to seeing you in person next time. Vinak.
Naka.
Wade.
Mother.
Naka. Yes. Wow, what a wonderful hour and a few other minutes that we've spent. It was meant to be just 1 hour. I think we went over, but we know that it was such a joy to hear their personal stories, their vision and their dreams. And I know that the BAKA Books is gonna be so amazing in years to come. And I think just to go through some of the advice that was given, since we're celebrating International Women's Day, celebrating women this week, Darshani was saying that, the space that they have, I think I like what she said in terms of the stories that are yet to be told and pictures yet to be seen. And that those are just beautiful quotes coming in, encouraging our young girls, to come into the space and, share your creativity, your poetry, your writing, and your drawing. Go for it. Yeah. So don't leave any room for doubt. Just do it. And for Eggy, highlighting you don't have to agree with everything. The bookstore has, have the space to explore the many possibilities. Wow. This is really, really great. And then Samantha acknowledging the community support, the family, businesses, friends, everybody that have supported them. And when you come to BAKA Books, you always find something new, and of course the partnership and the support from everybody that is out there. You cannot do things alone. You always have someone there that can support you. Oh, see, now I think I won't go back to sleep now because my brain is fully awake with the listening to the amazing ladies that have joined me tonight to share about BAKA Books. So for those of you, our dear friends logging in, thank you so much for sharing your comments, your questions. Master John Ravisa from the UAE, Emirates, United Arab Emirates. Please bring more books when you come from that side of the world. So our friends from Japan, everyone logging in, please remember BAKA Books, and they are located at 23 Magregor Road in the capital of Fiji, Suva. So from me here in Los Angeles, it's 3 minutes to 2 o'clock in the morning. I'll go and have another cup of coffee and get another book to read while I wait for the sunrise. So thank you so much, everybody, for supporting my program, Talanoa with Dr. T, and again with our ladies from BAKA Books sharing their stories with all of us. Assalamu alaikum ni kede ni Mother Raka. Mother.